Trump cornered Germany, leaving it with no option but to strike back. Nobody saw it coming, not in Brussels, not in Washington, not even on Wall Street. And yet, in quiet backrooms from Berlin to Ottawa, something extraordinary is taking shape. Germany and Canada, two stalwarts of the Western Alliance, are drawing a line in the sand. Not against Russia, not against China, but against the United States. Once viewed as America's most loyal trade partners, Berlin and Ottawa are now reportedly crafting a joint retaliation strategy against President Trump's aggressive tariffs, a strategy that could shatter decades of transatlantic cooperation. Washington may have expected resistance, but not like this. A coordinated economic counterattack between a European powerhouse and a North American one. So what are Germany and Canada preparing, which will hurt Trump and America more than the Trump administration expected? In this video, let's find out. It started like a whisper with tariffs on imported steel and aluminum. But before anyone could fully process the ripple effect, Donald Trump had dropped a geopolitical sledgehammer, a looming 25% tariff on European automobiles. For most countries, that might have meant friction. For Germany, it meant economic war. Germany's auto industry is not just a pillar of its economy. It is its pride, its power, and its pulse. Over 800,000 German workers are directly employed in the automotive sector, and millions more depend on the ripple effects, from manufacturing parts to running logistics to maintaining dealerships around the globe. Brands like Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Volkswagen are not mere vehicles. They are global ambassadors of German innovation, quality, and engineering might. So when Trump turned them into potential trade war collateral, it triggered a reaction that went far beyond technical disagreements. Trump's rationale was blunt. American steel is under siege. American auto jobs are vanishing. To his base, this was a patriotic stand against global exploitation. But to Berlin, it was a reckless provocation. U.S. consumers were major buyers of German cars, not because they were forced to be, but because they preferred them. And now the U.S. president was threatening to make them unaffordable. At first, Germany tried to respect European Union procedures. Trade policy, after all, is centralized under Brussels. The European Commission promised retaliatory duties on American goods like bourbon, Levi's jeans, and Harley-Davidsons, products symbolically tied to Republican voting regions. But that process was slow, and Berlin couldn't afford to be slow. Germany's Ministry for Economic Affairs signaled a serious shift in tone. If U.S. tariffs hit our car makers, we will not wait for Brussels to draft a consensus. We will retaliate fast and hard. This open defiance of EU protocol raised eyebrows in Paris and Brussels alike. But Berlin didn't flinch. The stakes were existential. Behind closed doors, Germany began preparing a countermeasure list of its own, one that would strategically strike American exports, particularly in politically sensitive states. The message was unmistakable. If the Trump administration tries to tank German cars, we will strike at his voter base. The shift was dramatic. What had begun as a policy dispute over industrial imports had escalated into a full-blown confrontation, one that pitted nationalism against globalism, unilateralism against alliances, and raw politics against economic interdependence. But just as Germany was lining up its next move, a quiet ally from across the Atlantic was doing the same. While Berlin was bracing for a tariff tsunami, Ottawa had already been hit. Trump's steel and aluminum tariffs didn't just wound Canadian exports. They shattered decades of neighborly trust. Canada had long been the United States' top supplier of both metals. Its trade relationship with Washington had been seamless, integrated, and largely uncontroversial. But with one signature, Trump reduced that relationship to rubble. Former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's reaction was swift and scathing. He denounced the tariffs as an affront to the longest-standing trade partnership in modern history. But more importantly, Canada moved beyond rhetoric. Ottawa's strategy wasn't just to fight, it was to outmaneuver. The Trudeau administration devised targeted retaliatory tariffs that would hurt Trump politically, punishing American producers in swing states and red strongholds with surgical precision. Still, for all its sharp planning, Canada faced a simple math problem. Its economy is roughly 1/10 the size of its southern neighbor. Standing alone, its leverage was limited. That's when the logic of alignment became undeniable. Germany, too, was staring down the barrel of U.S. trade aggression. Both economies were export-heavy. Both depended on access to the American market. Both had industries under siege. And both were looking for a way to hit back without getting crushed. Quiet diplomacy followed. Officials in Berlin and Ottawa began talks to synchronize their responses, not through grand public alliances, but through strategic coordination. The aim was simple, but powerful. Force Washington to realize that it was no longer bullying one country at a time. If the United States wanted to play hardball, it would now face a coalition. This potential German-Canadian alliance sent ripples through Washington and Brussels alike. For Trump, it complicated his divide-and-conquer strategy. The U.S. president had always preferred bilateral negotiations, one country at a time, one weak spot at a time. But a coordinated German-Canadian response would create a unified economic front and a political problem. Moreover, this partnership also forced the European Union to reconsider its tempo. Germany's independent overtures to Canada caused some tension in Brussels, where officials worried about disunity. But the German argument was compelling. Time is of the essence, and our industries are bleeding. We don't have the luxury of waiting 6 months for EU consensus. And for Canada, aligning with Germany wasn't just economic pragmatism. It was diplomatic leverage. Alone, Ottawa was an annoyed neighbor. With Berlin, it became part of a transatlantic resistance. Interestingly, the quiet convergence between Berlin and Ottawa didn't just rattle Washington. It shook Brussels to its core. In the European Union structure, trade policy isn't just a shared interest, it's a sacred, centralized competency. For decades, this system was built on the belief that unity breeds strength, especially in the face of global economic pressure. So when Germany, the bloc's industrial and political heavyweight, began independent talks with Canada on retaliatory tariffs, alarm bells rang across EU headquarters. At first, Brussels tried to contain the fallout. EU officials called Germany's moves understandable but premature, insisting that retaliatory measures must be coordinated through official EU mechanisms. They pointed to the carefully prepared list of counter-duties against American products already being drafted, from bourbon and Harley-Davidsons to orange juice and peanut butter, designed to both sting politically and remain legally sound under WTO rules. But Berlin wasn't waiting. The German Economy Ministry, under immense pressure from the auto lobby, labor unions, and provincial leaders, pushed forward. Their position was simple. If Washington acts unilaterally against our economy, we must reserve the right to act swiftly and proportionally. A 25% tariff on cars, after all, wouldn't be just an economic inconvenience. It would be a strategic assault on Germany's national lifeline. This sparked a tense internal debate within the EU. Was Germany undermining European solidarity or defending its vital interests in the face of bureaucratic sluggishness? Smaller states feared the precedent. If Berlin can act alone, what's stopping Paris or Rome from doing the same next time? Could the EU survive a future where every member state is tempted to bypass Brussels when the stakes are high enough? Canada, for its part, tried to avoid stepping on Brussels' toes. But Ottawa's urgency to form a united front with Germany only intensified the EU's anxieties. After all, if Germany, with the most to lose, decides that Brussels is too slow to protect it, what happens to the credibility of EU diplomacy on the world stage? As Berlin and Ottawa quietly finalized the framework for synchronized tariffs, the European Commission's authority hung in the balance. And for the first time in a generation, the EU's foundational principle of unity in trade was under serious strain, not from an outsider, but from within. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, and current affairs impacting your lives. One thing is certain. From a whisper in Brussels to a roar in global markets, the consequences of this unfolding economic standoff are no longer theoretical. Germany's car industry, once a symbol of post-war European prosperity, is now under siege. Canada's industrial arteries, especially its metals sector, are clogged with restrictions. And across the Atlantic, American exporters who once celebrated Trump's tough trade stance are beginning to feel the sting. But no domino threatens to topple the game more than Tesla. In a bold countermove discussed between German and Canadian officials, both countries are exploring a 100% tariff on Tesla vehicles, a tactical escalation designed to mirror Trump's own car tariff threats. It's a stunning reversal. Tesla, the darling of American innovation and a company once courted by foreign governments for investment, is now in the crosshairs of international retaliation. The logic is as strategic as it is symbolic. Elon Musk's company represents more than just cars. It's an avatar for American exceptionalism, tech dominance, and market disruptiveness. Targeting Tesla sends a message that resonates far beyond auto trade. We can hurt your heroes too. This development did not arise in a vacuum. In recent months, Tesla's aggressive lobbying for favorable treatment in the US, combined with Musk's vocal support of Trump's economic policies, made the company a convenient lightning rod. In Germany, where Tesla's gigafactory in Brandenburg is already a source of political contention, the move is also domestically popular among unions and traditional carmakers who view Tesla as both a competitor and an intruder. Canada, meanwhile, sees an opportunity to amplify pressure where it counts. By aligning its tariff plan with Germany's, it leverages joint economic clout, making retaliation more than symbolic. The idea is simple. If the US believes it can isolate complaints and negotiate piecemeal, a coordinated retaliation disrupts that strategy. Washington would be forced to contend with a new axis, one not bound by NATO or G7 talking points, but forged in the crucible of economic self-defense. As Tesla's stock fluctuates and market analysts weigh the fallout, the broader message echoes clearly. This isn't just a tariff fight. It's an economic war of nerves, and no one knows where the next punch will land. Now, with markets on edge and alliances fraying, the question that looms over the Atlantic is both simple and staggering. Will Trump blink? His administration's playbook is well known. Escalate, provoke, extract concessions, and declare victory. But the backlash this time is broader, more coordinated, and perhaps most importantly, coming from unexpected quarters. Canada, long a quiet partner. Germany, long a pillar of European restraint. Their joint response has caught Washington off guard, and the tremors are being felt across American constituencies. Farmers in Iowa are facing retaliatory tariffs on soybeans and whiskey. Southern manufacturers are nervous about Canada's proposed duties on construction machinery. And automakers, including some of Trump's biggest donors, are quietly urging the White House to reconsider. A full-blown trade war just months before the 2025 election could spell disaster at the ballot box. But Trump is not a man known for backing down. His Commerce Department has floated new rules to classify foreign retaliatory measures as hostile acts, potentially opening the door for national emergency powers to be invoked. His legal team is considering litigation against Canada and Germany at the WTO, even as the US continues to paralyze that very system by blocking appointments to its appellate body. Amid the chaos, Diplomatic channels remain open, barely. There are whispers of a temporary cooling-off deal. The U.S. postpones the car tariff, and Berlin and Ottawa pause their retaliation. Such a pact wouldn't resolve anything long-term, but it could buy time until after the election, when the political landscape may shift dramatically. Yet even if a temporary truce is reached, the damage is done. Trust, the currency of alliances, has been spent recklessly. Germany now knows it cannot rely solely on the EU for swift protection. Canada has learned that friendship with Washington offers no immunity, and the world has witnessed a deepening rift in the Western trade order, not driven by ideology or market failure, but by ego and raw power. The question now is no longer just what comes next. It's, can the transatlantic alliance survive a second round? Because this time, the wounds are self-inflicted, and the scars may be permanent. Now it turns out that Trump is backing down, even if he denies this. The recent announcement of a 90-day tariff truce between the United States and China marks a significant turning point in the global trade war and, perhaps more crucially, a silent admission of defeat by President Trump, even if he refuses to call it that. After months of escalating economic hostilities, both nations agreed to dramatically reduce their tariffs. U.S. levies on Chinese imports will fall from an astronomical 145% to a more manageable 30%, while China's retaliatory tariffs on American goods will drop from 125% to just 10%. This sudden about-face, forged quietly in Geneva during face-to-face talks, reflects a critical shift in Trump's strategy. While officials from both sides framed the outcome as a step toward balance and mutual benefit, the reality is more sobering. Trump blinked. This development raises a far more consequential question. If Trump is willing to retreat in the face of Chinese resistance, why wouldn't he do the same when confronted by the combined economic might of Germany and Canada? Germany is the heart of Europe's auto industry, and Canada is the United States' biggest supplier of steel and aluminum, two industries Trump targeted under the guise of national security. Both countries, facing devastating consequences from these tariffs, are no longer waiting for Washington to make the first move. Instead, they are preparing coordinated retaliation. Canada has already signaled its willingness to strike back surgically, targeting politically sensitive U.S. sectors. Germany, frustrated by the EU's slow response, is hinting at unilateral action, or at the very least, parallel action with Ottawa. The pattern here is unmistakable. Trump lashes out with harsh tariffs, triggering retaliation. He waits for markets to react, watches allies push back, and then quietly seeks a way out without losing face. That's precisely what happened with China. The Geneva meeting wasn't the start of a grand new alliance. It was damage control. And now Germany and Canada have every reason to believe that they can extract a similar climb down. Trump's tough guy image works only until it threatens to backfire politically. With key domestic industries under pressure, Trump's room to maneuver is shrinking fast. You see, this isn't just a story about steel, aluminum, or even cars. It's about the limits of unilateralism in a globally intertwined economy. Trump tried to use tariffs as a hammer, swinging it at allies and rivals alike. But in the case of China, the hammer missed, and now he's negotiating. Germany and Canada are watching closely, and they have learned something vital. Economic threats only work until they don't. And once the pain becomes mutual, the U.S. president retreats to diplomacy. For all his claims of strength, Trump's retreat from the China tariffs sends a loud message. When allies strike back together, even America bends. What do you think? Will Germany and Canada actually go through with joint retaliation, or is this just posturing? Can the European Union keep its trade policy united, or is Germany ready to break ranks? In the comment section below, share your thoughts on whether Trump will compromise or double down. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, changing world order, and current affairs. Things you need to stay informed. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.